Did you know the quietest place in the world is so silent you can hear your own heartbeat? Or that Lego bricks are strong enough to support a tower over 2 miles high? But that's just the tip of the iceberg. The science behind protons, or why cats have more toes on their front paws, there's always something new to learn. Let's get into it. Some men wear shoes with hidden lifts inside to make themselves look taller. These special lifts can add up to 6 inches to their height, but the shoes still look completely normal from the outside. Sometimes the lifts are glued in place, while other times they are removable, giving the person the option to adjust the height based on their preference. When the Titanic hit the iceberg and sank, the water in the Atlantic Ocean was around 28 degrees Fahrenheit, which is below the freezing point of fresh water. The icy cold water made it extremely difficult for the passengers to survive, and many tragically didn't make it. The freezing temperatures played a huge part in the disaster, as it was almost impossible for anyone to stay alive in those conditions. Some birds have tiny bristles along the edges of their eyelids. These bristles are similar to human eyelashes, but unlike ours, which are made of hair, bird eyelashes are actually modified feathers. These special feathers help the bird protect its eyes and may also play a role in sensing their surroundings. The bristles are adapted to the bird's needs, helping them survive in the wild. Identical twins might look almost identical, but they actually don't have the same fingerprints. While they share the same DNA, other factors such as how they were positioned in the womb, how long their umbilical cords were, and how quickly their fingers grew contribute to the uniqueness of their fingerprints. This means that identical twins have individual and distinct prints, and they can't get away with blaming each other for any trouble they get into. The Earth's rotation is gradually slowing down, causing the length of each day to increase by about 1.8 seconds every 100 years. This means that over millions of years, the days will continue to get longer, though the change is so small that we can't notice it in our lifetimes. About 600 million years ago, a day was only 21 hours long, so the Earth's rotation has slowed down quite a bit over time. While it's a tiny shift each day, the change is quite significant over many centuries. Most world maps are not entirely accurate. One of the most common projections, the Mercator map, was created in 1569, and it distorts the size of countries and continents. For example, Alaska looks as big as Brazil on the Mercator map, even though Brazil is actually 5 times larger than Alaska. Greenland is another example. It looks 14 times bigger than it really is. To show things accurately, maps would need to be round, life-sized, and 3-dimensional instead of flat and skewed in size. In 2002, scientists discovered the average color of the entire universe by studying the light from all the galaxies. The light mixed together and resulted in a beige color that scientists decided to call cosmic latte. This color is almost white but has a creamy tone, and it reminds people of a warm cup of coffee with milk. The quietest place in the world is located inside an anechoic chamber at Microsoft's headquarters in Redmond, USA. This chamber has a sound level of minus 20.6 decibels, which is so quiet that you can actually hear your own heartbeat and the sound of your breathing. The chamber is made of thick walls and sits on springs to prevent vibrations from outside noise sources. There's simply no such thing as a perfectly straight line. If you zoom in closely enough on any line, you'll notice small irregularities. Even a laser light beam, which seems perfectly straight to the naked eye, is slightly curved when looked at closely. In fact, this small curve is a result of the Earth's gravity bending the light as it travels through space. In emergencies, fish form orderly lines to help avoid accidents. For example, when evacuating through narrow spaces in dangerous situations, schools of neon tetra fish follow cues to ensure they don't crash into one another or clog up the line. Scientists believe this behavior shows that fish are capable of respecting social rules, even in high-pressure situations, something humans struggle with at times. Lego bricks are surprisingly strong and can withstand more compression than concrete. A regular plastic Lego brick can support the weight of 375,000 other bricks before breaking. In theory, this means you could build a tower over 2 miles high with Lego bricks. However, scaling this up to real-life house-sized Lego bricks would be impractical due to the incredibly high cost. If you ever go to space, you can take a yo-yo with you. In 2012, NASA astronaut Don Pettit brought a yo-yo on board the International Space Station and used it to demonstrate some tricks. Yo-yos rely on the laws of conservation of angular momentum, and these laws work in microgravity too. As long as the string stays taut, you can perform tricks in space just like you would on Earth. There's a theory that we sweat when we're anxious to alert the brains of others nearby that they should be ready for potential danger. Brain scans have shown that when people smell sweat produced by someone in a panic, the regions of the brain responsible for emotional and social signals light up. When you're anxious, your sympathetic nervous system activates, producing hormones like adrenaline, which triggers your sweat glands. Venus has rainbows too, but they're called glories. A glory is a series of colored concentric rings caused by light interference inside water droplets, not the typical process of reflection, refraction, and dispersion that creates rainbows. These glories are an atmospheric phenomenon that only happens on Venus. Protons come in different shapes, including bagels, spheres, peanuts, and rugby balls. Their appearance depends on the speed of the quarks inside them. Quirks are smaller particles that make up protons, and the speed at which they move can change the proton's shape. If you look at the moon from the southern hemisphere, it will appear upside down. The features of the moon, including the famous man in the moon, will also look different and resemble a rabbit instead. The way the moon's features appear changes depending on where you are on Earth. You're more likely to remember your dreams if you sleep badly and wake up multiple times throughout the night. Interrupting your sleep increases your chances of remembering a dream, especially if someone or something wakes you up in the middle of it. This happens because you're more likely to be awake during the periods when dreams occur, making it easier to recall them. Dogs tilt their heads when listening to people because it helps them understand familiar words, like walkies, more effectively. The head tilt also helps them better pick up the tone of your voice. Some experts believe that if a dog doesn't tilt its head often, it could be because it relies more on sight than sound to communicate. Mirrors facing each other won't produce infinite reflections. Each successive reflection will be dimmer than the previous one, eventually fading into invisibility. This happens because mirrors absorb a tiny fraction of the energy of the light falling on them, reducing the intensity with each reflection. Typically, mirrors can produce only a few hundred reflections before they become too faint to see. Ants have a distinctive smell. Many species produce strong-smelling chemicals when they feel threatened, angry, or when they're squished. For example, trap-jaw ants release a chocolate-like smell when they're crushed, while citronella ants give off a lemony scent when threatened. Giraffes hum to communicate with each other. Researchers believe this low-frequency humming is a form of contact call, helping giraffes reconnect with each other if they've been separated from their herd. This humming can also help them find one another in the dark, as it's a sound that carries over long distances. Shiso Kukuri, a Japanese marathon runner, took 50 years to finish his race. He was selected to represent Japan in the 1912 Stockholm Olympics, but during the marathon, he became exhausted after an 18-day-long trip by ship and train. He stopped running and stumbled into a garden party where he drank orange juice and rested. Feeling embarrassed by his failure, he quietly returned to Japan without notifying anyone. For 50 years, Swedish authorities considered him missing. In 1967, they discovered he had been living peacefully in Japan. Kukuri was offered the chance to finish his marathon, and 54 years later, he completed it, with a final time of 54 years, 8 months, 6 days, 5 hours, 32 minutes, and 20.3 seconds. Along the way, he got married, had 6 children, and 10 grandchildren. Every cotton pad has 2 different textures, with one side being smooth and the other rougher. The smooth side is meant for more sensitive areas of your face, like around the eyes, while the rougher side is better for cleaning less sensitive areas, such as your forehead. The texture difference helps you care for different parts of your face more effectively. If you're someone who enjoys having plants at home, you've probably noticed that flower pots have holes at the bottom. These holes are essential for water drainage, preventing stagnant water from building up and damaging your plant. They also allow the plant's roots to grow and expand beyond the confines of the pot, helping the plant thrive. Aviator sunglasses are known for their green lenses, which were originally designed for pilots. When aviator sunglasses were first created in the 1930s, pilots needed protection from high altitudes, bright sun, and freezing temperatures. Before that, goggles were used, but they fogged up because of the temperature difference between the inside and outside of the lenses. The green lenses were designed to cut out blue light and reduce glare while improving contrast and sharpness. The small holes in the sides of Converse sneakers are not just for decoration. They allow air to flow into the shoe, keeping your feet cool. You can also use them creatively when tying your shoes in different ways, adding a personal touch to your style. Plastic bottles have grooves for 2 main reasons. First, they help improve your grip, especially when your hands are sweaty or the bottle is cold with condensation. Without the grooves, it would be harder to hold the bottle. Second, the grooves allow manufacturers to use thinner plastic, which reduces material usage in production while still ensuring the bottle holds its shape and strength. Wooden coat hangers are more than just decorative. Made of cedar wood, they bring a pleasant scent to your closet and help repel bugs. They are also sturdy enough to support heavy clothes like jackets and are resistant to damage, meaning they'll last longer than cheaper, flimsy hangers. You may have noticed a small colored square at the bottom of your toothpaste tube, usually in blue, red, green, or black. While these blocks might seem like part of the design, they're actually a tool used during production. These colored marks help manufacturing machines identify where to cut and seal the tube. They are simply visual cues to assist in the automated production process, ensuring the tubes are properly closed and ready for packaging. Have you ever seen the loops at the top or back of some boots? At first glance, they might seem like a fashion statement or perhaps something added just for fun. But these loops actually serve a practical purpose. They're there to make it easier to pull the boot on, especially when the boots are stiff or high. They can also be used to hang the boots up for storage or to give additional support when tying the laces. If you've ever bought a vacuum cleaner, you probably have a set of attachments that came with it, and you might have set them aside without ever using them. Well, these attachments are more than just extra parts. They can be incredibly helpful when you're cleaning different areas around your home. Each attachment is designed for specific purposes, like reaching tight corners, cleaning upholstery, or getting into crevices that a regular vacuum head can't reach. They're definitely worth using. Some sweatshirts have a V-shaped stitch near the neck, which might look purely decorative. However, it serves a very specific purpose. The ribbed insert at the neck was originally designed to make it easier for the wearer to put the sweatshirt on. It allows the collar to stretch without losing its shape, making it more comfortable to wear. In the early versions of sweatshirts, both the front and back of the collar had this feature to absorb sweat, though over time, manufacturers removed the back insert, leaving only the V-shaped stitch as a design element. Those brightly colored squares or circles you sometimes see on food packaging aren't there to indicate vitamins, minerals, or specific flavors, nor are they some sort of secret code for consumers to decipher. These blocks are actually used by printing engineers, and they're called process control patches, or printer's color blocks. When food packaging is printed, manufacturers use these color blocks to check whether the printing ink is consistent and accurate. Have you ever noticed the wide margins in notebooks? While they might seem like extra space to just scribble or doodle, they actually have a more historical purpose. A long time ago, rats were common household pests, and they had a strange diet, including paper. So, people started adding wide margins to their notebooks in an attempt to keep the rats distracted. The idea was that the rats would nibble on the margins rather than the actual written content in the middle of the page. If you've ever looked closely at a suit jacket, you might have noticed a buttonhole near the top of one of the lapels. It might seem unnecessary or just a design feature, but this buttonhole has a history. Back in the early 19th century, men's jackets had high collars that could be buttoned all the way up. During warmer days, they would undo the top button, and the folded lapels would create a more relaxed look. The buttonhole allowed people to add a flower, making the look more fashionable. Tea bags, of course, are primarily used for brewing tea, but they can also come in handy in other situations. For instance, if you have smelly feet after a long day in your shoes, you can place unused tea bags inside them overnight. By morning, the tea bags will have absorbed the unwanted odors, leaving your shoes smelling fresh and odor-free. It's a simple and natural way to tackle those unpleasant smells. Besides holding papers together, binder clips have other useful applications you might not have thought of. For example, you can use them to clip your money and keep it organized, preventing it from getting lost or mixed up with other things. Paper clips can also come in handy in a pinch. If your favorite bracelet breaks, for instance, you can use a paper clip to temporarily hold it together. Just hook one clip through each end of the bracelet and twist it tightly, and you've got a quick and temporary fix. The Mozilla Firefox logo might seem like a fox surrounding the globe, but it's actually inspired by the red panda, not a fox. The logo was created when the browser was originally named Mozilla Firebird, and the first logo depicted a phoenix. After the name was changed to Firefox, the red panda became the symbol for the browser, giving it a memorable image that represents the rare and protected animal from Asia. The time 941 displayed in iPhone ads isn't just a random number. In 2007, when Steve Jobs first revealed the iPhone to the public, he did so after a 41-minute presentation, and the announcement was made at precisely 9:41 a.m. This time became iconic and was consistently used in iPhone advertisements to mark the historic moment. The original Apple logo, designed in 1976, featured Sir Isaac Newton sitting under a tree with an apple about to fall on his head. However, this logo was considered too complex and hard to understand, so Steve Jobs wanted something simpler. The new logo, designed by Rob Janoff, was a more streamlined apple with a bite taken out of it. The bite mark was added so people wouldn't confuse it with other round fruits like cherries or peaches. Plus, it introduced a fun and clever pun, since byte also refers to digital data, a fitting connection for Apple, a tech company. When the Apollo 11 astronauts ventured into space, their life insurance costs were astronomical due to the mission's high-risk nature. The astronauts couldn't afford this on their own, so they signed hundreds of covers that their families could sell in case of an emergency, to fund some of their major expenses. Snickers, the beloved candy bar, was created by Frank Mars, the founder of Mars Inc. The candy bar, which is made of nougat, peanuts, and caramel, was inspired by a similar existing snack, and it was named after Mars's family horse, Snickers. Originally, the candy was sold as Marathon in the UK until 1990, when the name changed to Snickers. However, the rebranding caused a drop in popularity, turning Snickers from the #1 selling candy bar in Britain to #3. The NBC logo is a colorful and meaningful symbol. The peacock design, with its vibrant rainbow of feathers, points to the introduction of color television and the pride NBC had in their new color system. Each of the 6 colors in the peacock's feathers represents one of NBC's divisions. Papa John's Pizza started in 1984 in a broom closet at a bar co-owned by John Schnatter and his father in Indiana. Despite humble beginnings, the company grew rapidly, and today Papa John's is the 3rd largest pizza chain globally, with over 5,500 locations in 49 countries. Baskin-Robbins, known for its 31 flavors of ice cream, subtly integrates this number into its logo. The curve of the B represents the number 3, while the stem of the R symbolizes the number 1. This hidden design is a clever representation of the company's famous 31 flavor offering. The first website ever created, known as the World Wide Web Project, went live in 1991 and still serves as a historical archive. Created by Tim Berners-Lee, a British scientist working at CERN, the website doesn't include any pictures, only text. The first product ever scanned at a supermarket was a 10-pack of Wrigley's Juicy Fruit Gum in 1974 in Troy, Ohio. The barcode, which revolutionized the way products are tracked and purchased, was invented and patented in 1952, but it only gained widespread use when IBM started incorporating it into its systems. Before barcodes, grocery clerks had to manually type in the prices for every product, a time-consuming and error-prone process. Until 2010, rural broadband internet was so slow that it couldn't even beat the speed of carrier pigeons in a speed test. While it might sound like a joke, the reality of internet speed in rural areas was dire, and pigeons were used in some tests to show just how slow internet access was compared to more traditional methods of communication. USB sticks, used for transferring files, once participated in a unique race from a Yorkshire farm, covering a distance of 50 miles. Interestingly, they finished the race an hour and a quarter later, but by that time, only 24% of a 300 megabyte file had been uploaded. New Zealand is a popular destination for testing new products due to its isolation and ethnically diverse population. The country has English-speaking people, which is an advantage for global companies, but it's also far removed from major markets. This isolation means that any failures or issues with products are less likely to spread quickly, making it an ideal testbed for companies. Technophobia, or the fear of technology, is a condition that affects many people, particularly in the face of new and complex devices. This fear is often triggered by the rapid advancements in technology, such as computers and smartphones, which can feel overwhelming for those who are not familiar with them. In 2006, Qatar Telecom made headlines by organizing a charity auction where they sold the phone number 6666666 for a staggering $2.75 million. This sale set the record for the most expensive phone number ever sold. Segway Polo is a legitimate sport gaining global popularity. It involves teams from various countries competing in a unique variation of polo, played on Segway personal transporters instead of horses. The game doesn't require a specific fitness level, and there are no age restrictions, making it accessible to a broad range of people. The game consists of 4 8-minute sections, and the objective is to knock a ball into the goal using a special hammer attached to the Segway. Phantom vibration syndrome refers to the sensation of feeling your phone vibrate when it actually isn't. This phenomenon is becoming more common as people are increasingly attached to their phones. If you experience this frequently, it could be a sign of being overly involved with your phone, and it might be worth considering taking some time to disconnect and focus on the present moment. The original Xbox console included edited sound bites from actual transmissions during the Apollo space missions. If you left the Xbox home screen on for a while, you would eventually hear fragments of real communication from the historic Apollo missions. Nintendo, founded in 1889, initially started as a playing card company long before becoming the gaming giant it is today. They even organized a bridge tournament called the Nintendo Cup in 1973. Today, they still produce playing cards in Japan. In 1973, a Motorola engineer made the first cell phone call in history from 6th Avenue in New York City using a 2.5 pounds prototype. This early cell phone, nearly the size of a shoebox, allowed its user to talk for up to 35 hours on a single charge, though it took 10 hours to recharge. The first commercial text message in history was sent on December 3, 1992, and it simply wished happy holidays to the recipient, a Vodafone employee. Since then, texting has evolved into a global communication tool with an estimated 6 billion text messages sent per day, making it a central part of modern communication. Apple once had a clothing line in 1986 called the Apple Collection. The collection was launched just a year after Steve Jobs temporarily left the company. The idea behind the collection was to test how far Apple's fans would go in purchasing branded clothing, accessories, and lifestyle items. The venture was short-lived. The phenomenon of potato chips having those deliciously crunchy ruffles actually has a practical purpose. Ruffled chips are designed to be sturdier than flat chips, which is why they hold up better when dipped into sauces like salsa, sour cream, or onion dip. The ridges provide extra surface area and structural strength so the chips don't break apart when you dip them, allowing you to enjoy your snack without the mess. Moreover, the ruffles make the chips crunchier and more satisfying to bite into, adding to the overall texture experience. It's all part of making your snacking experience more enjoyable and functional. Next time you grab a bag of chips, you'll know why those ruffles are more than just a fun design. Potatoes are an important crop in the U.S. In 2020, America grew a huge number of potatoes, making it one of the top producers worldwide. They are used in various foods like fries, chips, and mashed potatoes. The U.S. is known for producing both regular and specialized potato varieties. Most cats have 5 toes on their front paws, but only 4 on their back paws. This difference in toe numbers is a unique feature of their anatomy. Cats rely on their front paws for balance and hunting, while their back paws are used more for movement and propulsion, so fewer toes are needed there. The world's population, estimated at 7.5 billion, could fit inside a space of 500 square miles if everyone stood shoulder to shoulder. This area is roughly the size of Los Angeles. Dogs are as skilled as pigs at finding truffles due to their powerful sense of smell. Truffles are rare fungi that grow underground, and they emit a scent that dogs can easily detect. Unlike pigs, which were traditionally used, dogs are now more commonly trained for truffle hunting due to their precision and speed. In 1958, high school student Bob Heft designed the current American flag for a class project. His design, featuring 50 stars, was initially graded a B-. However, it was later chosen from over 1,500 submissions as the new flag design. Heft's grade was changed to an A after the flag was adopted. In 1974, NASA spent between $15 and $22 million on each of its spacesuits, which were designed for astronauts to wear outside the spacecraft. However, the suits wear out over time, and NASA only has 4 remaining functional EVA suits. They are now working on replacing them with new models. Hot water can sometimes freeze faster than cold water, a phenomenon known as the Mpemba effect. This happens because hot water cools unevenly, causing some parts to cool faster than others. The resulting temperature changes can cause the hot water to freeze more quickly than cold water under certain conditions. William Shakespeare's signature was not consistent, and he signed his name in various ways, including Shakespeare, Shakespeare, and Chaper. The exact spelling of his name is unknown, and it's unclear which version is correct. The original London Bridge, which was falling apart in the 1960s, was sold to American oil tycoon Robert P. McCulloch. The bridge was disassembled, shipped to the U.S., and reassembled in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. Now, the London Bridge in the U.S. is a popular tourist attraction, far from its original home in England. That's a wrap on today's list. By the way, if you liked this video, then here is the next video which has some secret facts hidden, so be sure to watch it before going away. Until next time, the useless guy.